Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In this video, we begin with a post from the subreddit Am I the A-hole with an update. Then we move on to some malicious compliance, and we finish up with some fantastic petty revenge. As always, if you want to move around the video, you can just use the timestamps below it. Now, let's get started with that first story. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Throwaway Sister. Am I the a-hole for not helping my sister and husband pay for their IVF treatment using my inheritance despite having no immediate use for it? So I am 25 female and my sister Ella is 31 female. My husband Tom and her husband is John. Ella is bisexual and our parents were religious as F, so when she brought home a girlfriend in high school, they kicked her out. She never got an inheritance when our mom died. The both of us had cut contact with our parents, but I still decided to accept the money because I figured it's the one good thing to come out of our abusive life, so why not? The legal side of things was finalized a week ago. Ella and John came to see me while Tom was at work and told me they wanted to talk about something important. They said that they had exhausted all of their fertility money and didn't have enough to try IVF again. I could see where this was going, so I just said, I'm sorry Ella, I understand. I was thinking about this as well, and Tom thinks this is the right thing to do too. You should have half of the money, you deserve it. John tells me that's not what they wanted to talk about, but that they wanted all of the money. I'm a bit taken aback. Apparently, half won't be enough. I tell them that I was going to use my part, or if she didn't want the half, all of it, for my daughter's college fund, and another fund for her to use for whatever she wishes during her teen years. I remind Ella that we always promised each other our children will be financially well off because we never had that growing up. Where I live, college is extremely expensive, so despite my daughter being only 3, Tom and I wanted to start this for her. I tell Ella and John all of this, and Ella is just very upset at this point. John is more willing to have a conversation though. She comes back from the kitchen and says I'm rubbing in the fact that I'm a mother in her face. I'm angry by this point because I thought she loved my daughter like her own. Ella said I was sabotaging her and that I owed her for looking after me when we were kids. John said since Ella faced more struggles, she deserved all of it despite knowing full well our parents hurt me regularly as well. I was just not prepared to fight. My daughter needed my attention, and I wanted Tom to be by my side because Ella was acting aggressively. I asked them to leave and called Tom. We discussed this again and agreed we shouldn't give them the money. Ella calls me and I pick up, and she tells me she has to try again and that her relationship is rocky because they're frustrated they can't have a kid. I told her I would not give her the entire amount and just hung up. I think I have a chance of being an a-hole because Ella and John have been trying to have a child for years. I also have no immediate use of the money, so maybe I should have been more understanding of her struggles. I feel guilty about all of this now, but I don't know if I should. Maybe since I don't have an immediate use for the money, I should have given it to her? Am I an a-hole? Wow, well OP, first thing I'm gonna say is, I'm sorry your sister and her husband are struggling with this whole fertility issue. It must be very stressful and put a lot of pressure on the relationship. However, none of that is on you. In my opinion, you are not the a-hole. You offered her something incredibly fair. And they didn't even have to ask you, you were gonna do it anyways. However, they wanted all, and that's not fair. I empathize with your sister. I'm sure she's going through a lot right now. Their relationship is really strained because they can't have kids and they want to try IVF again. However, the amount of money you're offering doesn't cover the whole thing. Well, that's as much as you can do. And you do have an immediate use for your half of the money, which is to start building your daughter's college fund. So again, you're not the a-hole. I'd say keep your half, give her half, and then have her do whatever she wants to do with it. Just don't let them guilt trip you into giving them all the money. And what do you guys think? Let me know your opinion in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say. Sad Capybara in Sand says, quote, "You should have half of the money, you deserve it." John tells me that's not what they wanted to talk about, but that they wanted all of the money." End quote. What the F? You offered an equal split and she went, "Nope, I want it all," and is trying to pull out every emotional manipulative tool in the book to get what she wants. Seems she turned out more like her mother than she'd like to admit. You're not the a-hole, and you should just flat out tell her that if either her or John bring up wanting more than half ever again, they'll get nothing. Saz66 says, "Not the a-hole. I think you were right and fair to offer to split the money with her, but in no way should she get all of it. This is the chance for you to ensure your child's future, and as her mother, it's only right for you to do so. Ella can look for alternate ways to become a mother that doesn't involve spending your part of the inheritance. Fertility problems are super unfortunate, but it doesn't give her the right to take your daughter's college money." And OP responds, "I think some of her friends suggested alternative ways to become a mother in the past, but she has always wanted a biological child of her own, similar to a normal pregnancy. Thank you for your help." _Ewan_ says, quote, "John tells me that's not what they wanted to talk about, but that they wanted all of the money." End quote. No, the sheer brass neck is astounding. You made a generous but fair offer. You're clearly not the a-hole, and you shouldn't for a moment let them make you doubt yourself. More information from OP's curated comments. "We were not poor growing up, not even close. Actually, our parents were pretty rich, but they never used any of it on us. We had to pay for our own education, sometimes clothes, etc. While my parents were thinking about getting a third car, or my mom was buying jewelry after jewelry. That's when we kind of promised our children would never have to go through that." Tom already called our family lawyer just in case, but at this point, I don't think there's anything they can do legally. Still, we're prepared. I'm still going to give her half if she asks, but I won't be the one to contact her first. What she said about me sabotaging her and her suffering more than me, despite us both being abused, just changed my perspective, I guess. They don't want to consider adoption. John's parents and their friends have talked to them about it, but that's not what they personally want. I have talked to them about it, but they'd rather not have children than adopt. Also, a close friend of ours had a bad experience with adoption, so that may be why. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. She made a very generous and fair offer to her sister. And I was able to get you guys a little bit more context from the comment section. So now that we've got all the information we can get, how about we move on with the update to see what happened next. Hello, I apologize for the update being so late, almost a month. I got caught up with everything that was going on, but now that I have a moment, I thought I'd write this since a lot of you guys still want an update. I got a lot of helpful tips and also understood that I was so not the a-hole. The relief I felt was huge, so thanks for helping me out. I didn't reach out to Ella or John like I initially planned now that I knew I had nothing to apologize for. A few days after though, John came over, alone, to my house and apologized for what Ella said. But I was dumb for thinking they would stop there because John asked me about the money again. They still felt like they deserved all the money. Luckily for me, I did not have to deal with all of this for a second time since Tom was home and they talked. It ended with John threatening to sue and whatnot. Ella began posting the nastiest things on Facebook and it was embarrassing to explain everything to my friends. I just felt like I had to cut off contact. They were being aggressive and just overall so horrible to my family. I told Ella that I did not want to have contact with her anymore and blocked them all. Ella showed up with John again though, this time asking for half of the money. Tom and I talked about this and we decided not to give them anything. We offered it to them even after the incident, and all they did was insult us. We're going to use it for our daughter's future. So I know that's a sad update, but I got messages yesterday asking for one that I thought I'd still make a post. We talked to our lawyer and they can't really do anything legally, and they probably won't even try because they have no money. To clarify some things, I offered it to her so many times, even after I realized I was not the a-hole. She refused because she wanted it all. I asked again. She didn't want it again. Then she started destroying my life. She said something about my daughter that I will never forgive her for. This has nothing to do with her sexuality. This is about her refusing to accept the money and then trying to destroy my life. Abusive people like her don't deserve the right thing. It's been almost a month since Tom and I made this decision, and I feel great about it. She forced me into this decision when she started harassing my family and my 4-year-old daughter. Some people mentioned how IVF is not that expensive, but Ella chose a very particular clinic. It's their second time doing the cycle, and so they decided to go for a more expensive option, though I don't know why. Hence why they needed more than their half. At least, that is what they told me. A lot of you think setting up a teen fund for my daughter would spoil her, but it's not for anything she might want for fun. It's just an emergency fund that we wanted to set up so she could use it until she turns 18 in case of emergencies, or if she wants a car, or for traveling and other things not related to college. Well, OP, I'm sorry it went this way, but I totally understand your decision. You tried to give her half the money more than once and she kept rejecting it because she wanted it all, and then started insulting you from what you tell us, and apparently made your life miserable and also brought your daughter into the mix, which is not cool. Then when you told her enough is enough and that you were blocking her, that's when she was okay with just taking half, but then it was too late. On a side note, I'm not sure about that team fund you want to set up to just be for emergencies if your daughter can use it to either buy a car or go traveling. But it's not my money and not my daughter. Just saying. Anyways, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user The Rumper. Was told to actually read the policy, so I did. I work for an office, and we have an 8-week busy season with mandatory overtime, 12 to 14 hours a day. During this time, the company agrees to reimburse us for dinner, up to $13 per meal. We just have to submit a claim with our receipts at the end of the busy season. Food options around my work aren't great, so I usually brought my dinner from home. But sometimes I was too tired to cook after a long day, so out of the 8 weeks, I purchased maybe 10 meals. For 3 of those meals, I spent $13.50, going 50 cents over the limit. This resulted in a whopping $1.50 overage, which my manager said was no big deal and that I could include it on my expense claim. He signed off on it and everything. A few days after I submitted my report, head office emailed me saying they rejected my expense claim and that I could resubmit it after I removed the $1.50 overage. I wrote back saying my manager was fine with the $1.50 overage and even signed off on it. And they responded by telling me that they do not allow overages under any circumstances, that the $1.50 must be removed or they wouldn't approve any of my meal expenses. They ended their mail with the advice that I should actually read the company policy next time. Fine, they were right and I was wrong. So I decided I'd read the policy very thoroughly before redoing my expense claim. Yes, the policy clearly stated a $13 maximum on purchased meals. Oh, and what's this? The policy also allows for a $10 per diem for meals you bring from home. I very happily removed the $1.50 overage and added an additional $300 for the 30 meals I brought from home. I should read the company policy more often. OP's edit. Some of you are asking if I got paid the $300, and the answer is yes. Many are suggesting the person was sincerely trying to help me out, but I'm not 100% sure because they were so snippy in their email. Also, when we were emailed the policy at the beginning of the busy season, there was no mention of the per diem and no one else in my department knew about it. Either way, I made sure to thank them just in case they were being sincere and I was just too jaded to see it. Well, OP, this is fantastic. You read the fine print and you got $300 from it. That's amazing. You should tell your coworkers in case they're also failing to see this policy because apparently it wasn't included in the email before this busy season. Anyways, thanks for sharing, OP. All the best. Now let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user Grape Ice Cream Float. Faked proof that I had a flat tire so that the lazy people in my group project would have to do the presentation themselves, therefore likely will fail. I'm in a class where a group research project or presentation is a huge chunk of overall points. Everyone knows in group projects you always have that one slacker who doesn't do anything that you have to compensate for. However, I got stuck with possibly the worst 3 people to be in a project with in the class. I did the entire research, presentation, poster boards, etc., among many other annoying things myself. I tried talking to them and telling them they needed to put in their share of effort. Ignored. I'd send them tasks to do. Ignored. I'd try to schedule meetings. They'd said they were coming and then leave me alone at the library. This happened from the get-go. It was abundantly clear that they expected everyone else to do the work, but everyone else turned out to be just me. Rule: we couldn't have things 100% memorized word for word, and we couldn't read off of anything. We had to actually know the subject. I was fully prepared to do most of the talking, and even wrote down a small script for them and told them to know what to say during their part, at the very least. The night before, I told them we had to meet to at least go over the whole thing one time. Once again, none of them showed. At this point, I'm livid and decide they can just do it themselves, which means they'd get up there, not know a damn thing to say other than the small information I gave them, and couldn't even BS anything because they did no research. The thing is, if we miss without an excuse, we fail the project. If you have an excuse, you have to have documentation. I commute and live an hour away, so I decided that I'll conveniently have a flat tire right before class. Went out and actually bought a tire so I could have the receipt to prove it. Emailed the professor who said I can present by myself during his office hours. Turns out they completely bombed and not only probably failed the project, but since they're bad students, this might even make them fail the class. OP's edit. The professor stated at the beginning that we were not allowed to contact him about people slacking in the group and said to work it amongst ourselves. Said that we were adults and that he wouldn't even respond to emails about it. Well done, OP. Good for you, you taught 3 of these lazy effers a lesson. Well done, OP. Thanks for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.